What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And today I am going to be talking about the Netflix series Locke Key, a show that I knew nothing about and that I had no interest in watching or talking about until a few months back I watched the film Coda starring Emilia Jones, after which I was rather curious to see what the rest of her filmography was. And from what I could tell, this was the only project that she had been involved in recently, so I decided to give it a watch. And for the first few episodes, I was pretty bored. I considered turning it off, but I would say after the fourth episode, I really began to see where the series was going, and from that point, I was hooked. This show is one of the most absurd things I have watched in a while, but I would be lying if I didn't say that I had a blast watching it. If any of you don't know what this show is about, it's based off of comic books, I believe, and it follows this family known as the Lockes as they move into Key House. Yes, I know, it's already kind of difficult to take this seriously. The youngest member of the family, Bodhi, unleashes an ancient evil from inside of their well house, and as the show goes on, the siblings discover a bunch of strange keys with different powers and attributes, and all sorts of crazy hijinks ensue from that point on. Although I said this show is absurd, which it is, it does have some legitimately good things about it, one being the production value, which is strangely high. I liked a lot of the sets and locations in this show, especially Key House. From what I've read, a lot of it was shot here in Canada, in Toronto, with some additional shooting being done in Nova Scotia, and that's just kind of cool for me as a Canadian myself. The score is also great. I loved a lot of the reoccurring cues and leitmotifs throughout the series, and it's just a creative and out there concept which isn't held back, unlike a lot of other shows nowadays. While it isn't always great in its execution, I was never bored, and that's saying something, because around a month ago I watched the new Marvel series Moon Knight, and I was incredibly bored while watching it because it follows a concept that is rich with potential, but that felt like it was being wasted throughout the entire series, so I can't say I was ever really entertained by it. While this show isn't great objectively, I was still constantly entertained by it, whether that be for ironic or unironic reasons. With all of that being said, though, the writing in this show is really bad. There are several very obvious plot holes and contrivances, and this show neglects one of the key fundamentals of storytelling in film and television, which is show don't tell. The characters in the show will sporadically tell you information that the writers couldn't figure out a way to show you. Random plot devices are introduced at points to progress the story, and the characters will just randomly explain to you how they work. And I could almost forgive this because at points, the show is aware of how tonally over the top and corny it is. But at other points, it's so melodramatic that it becomes ironically funny. Just as how the tone is inconsistent, the script and acting is just as much so. The acting at points can be surprisingly decent. I would never call it great, but still decent. However, sometimes it's laughably bad. The characters are also strangely unlikable, especially the main cast. Bodhi is just a kid, so I can't judge him that hard, but Tyler and Kinsey, his brother and sister, make extremely inconsiderate and selfish decisions for much of the show, and the only character I really liked is Scott, this guy who wants to go into film school and who has a group of friends who are helping him make this movie. That was kind of relatable because that's what I want to do once I go into university, and he was just a funny, likable character. But he was the only one in the show that I would say seems like an actual good person. The rest of them are just petty, backstabbing assholes. And it all comes back to what I said at the beginning of this video about this show being absurd. Because you may say, going off of most of Season 1, that this show is pretty straightforward for the most part, and you would be correct. Until the ending of Season 1, which has the most ludicrous twist I have ever seen. I cannot even begin to describe the levels of absurdity of the final reveal and it carries over into Season 2, which is just amazing. If you were to ask me to describe to you the plot of the final episode of Season 2, I would tell you that it follows the girl from Coda turning into the Falcon, flying around fighting the villain, while the other villain resurrects a demon soldier from the Revolutionary War. I know you think I'm kidding, but I'm not. This actually happens in the show. At this point, you guys have probably figured out that the best way to watch this show is to not take it seriously whatsoever, because once I turned my brain off, I had a lot more fun with it. Coincidentally, a trailer for Season 3 released earlier today, and I can't wait for it, because it looks like it will be just as much dumb fun as the first 2 seasons. Now, just to be clear, I wouldn't blame anyone for hating this show or thinking that it's garbage, because by most standards, it is that. But if your tastes are at all similar to mine, then I'd recommend checking it out, because I cannot deny the amount of entertainment I got out of this stupid show. But what are your thoughts? Have you watched Locke Key? Are you interested in watching it now that you've seen my video? Just whatever your thoughts are, please let me know them all in the comments below. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.